Good afternoon, everyone. Let's start the meeting. Would we first check our cell phones, make sure they're silenced? Linelda, can we do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner David,
Present.
Commissioner Gossick-Seidman,
Present.
Vice Mayor Moore,
Present.
Mayor Hillman,
Present.
Town Attorney Tercivia, Town Manager Labadie.
Present.
Thank you.
And if we can stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, and justice for all.
Does anyone have any additions or deletions for the agenda?
Maybe we could add the brief follow-up conversation on the American Rescue Plan dollars and Mr. Torsivia's initial legal review of the situation.
Okay. I guess that would go into new business.
Certainly. Say 11F.
And I was advised that we can eliminate
11A.
yes, 11A. That's resolution number 2021-037, election results.
We'll bring that back on the 16th. We should have the official results from the supervisor of elections. We just have a tentative, we don't have the formal.
So there's a bit of a recount being done or something to that effect? Or?
No, it's just
No.
we haven't just got some paperwork. We just haven't gotten from her yet.
Gotcha.
And possible ads from mail-ins or something?
Right,
Well,
right.
the
Some
provisional
later-
ballots and the recount has slowed her process. Normally she'd be done by now, but it's just
Okay,
bogged down a little.
you got it. Okay, with those two changes, if there's nothing else, can we have a motion to accept?
I move we accept the agenda as presented with the changes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, there are no presentations or proclamations. Do we have anybody in the queue for public comments?
There are no public comments.
Okay, then they will be closed. Announcements, the board vacancies. There remains one vacancy for a 3-year term for code enforcement. Meetings and events. November 10th at 9:30 is a planning board regular meeting. November 11th is, town's closed for observance, obviously, of Veterans Day. And the 16th at 1:30 is another commission meeting. There is a board action report, but I don't think there is anything for the commission to do or.
There is no report. Underneath
Oh,
it says
none,
none.
excuse me. No wonder there was nothing for us to do. Proposed ordinance is on page 8. And that is amending the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 12, Construction Sites, Chapter 25, Street Sidewalks and Bicycle Walkways and Paths, Chapter 28, Exerscape, Landscape Requirements, Installation and Maintenance, and Chapter 30, Zoning Code to allow for certain improvements and to provide protection of swales, John, located within the public right-of-way.
Yes,
It's all yours, John.
We did have some additional work. I did meet with Ingrid, our planning agent, and with our town manager, Marshall, and we have the final version. Now, this final version has taken a few months in the spirit of efficient, effective, fast-moving government paperwork. This is not an example. But finally, we've taken inches of paperwork. We've culled it down to an ordinance that we feel is good, that we've agreed to, that's final. However, it doesn't go into effect really, except on our side roads. In the meantime, to address the concern mentioned by Commissioner Gossett-Seidman, a very good ad, we have the R program coming from FDOT, and that affects A1A, not necessarily our side roads. We still have right-of-ways on our side roads that we have to be concerned about, and the ordinance does continue to support and address the issues on those side roads. But in order to address the concern about FDOT being involved with a RRR, we have a temporary resolution that will be in effect until the FDOT projects are done, and then we go back to our town ordinance. I hope I explained that well
Yeah, you
enough.
did. Yep.
And we have Ingrid that can go into details on both, and of course, backed up by Marshall. But I think, again, a lot of work has been done, good thinking, looked at other towns, took in a lot of input from citizens and from all of you. And over time, the iterations have resulted in what you see before you. But then maybe you can address any questions about not only the ordinance, but the resolution that we will respect between now and the time that FDOT finishes the project. Okay.
Okay. Ingrid, do you want to add anything
Sure.
before we?
Yes, just very briefly. Just want to clarify that the ordinance that is before you today is the exact same ordinance that was before you on October 19th. There's been no changes. As Commissioner Shoemaker indicated, what we've added to the agenda item is this resolution, which was actually prepared by the town attorney, right? Which allows the commission, based on consensus by the commission at the October 19th meeting, that you all will be the permitting authority, right? When it comes to right-of-way permits along State Road A1A for any improvements. And then once that FDOT RRR project is completed, then it would defer back to building department staff as provided in the ordinance.
Yep.
I would add one point, which is that some, or at least two residents may have this mistaken notion that, well, we don't need this until, FDOT, they rule on A1A, so we don't have to do anything. But we still have side roads, we still have rights of ways, we still have swales, and we do have some concerns that need to be managed properly. And that's why we went forward and did this.
Of course. Ev?
Well, immediately, I have one question. I mean, this looks great. Why are we still having pages of things about newsstands in here?
Right. As I mentioned previously, ordinances really need to deal with one item. And so this ordinance is about right-of-way permitting. So if this gets approved, then we'll come forward with a separate ordinance that will deal with the removal of newsstands. But I believe it's per statute. Ordinances need to be on one particular topic. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Good answer. That was my question also.
Well, yeah.
Anything else?
No, actually, as John said, we've gone through this and it looks clean to me. It looks good.
So with the news racks, Commissioner David, are you the sponsor?
The ordinance that's gonna say, get rid of them, we don't allow them, period. There, I've sponsored it.
Any other comments like that can get sponsorship.
Peggy, you have anything?
Yes, a couple of things, thanks. I know this began, about a year ago when Commissioner David brought up after an incident on A1A that why do we not have permits for utilities? Because they had been digging and I believe severed a gas line, right? So she brought that up and then I brought up at that time that we had certain, what people consider dangerous items in the swales and rights of way. And it morphed into this grander scale, which is terrific. But I'm just wondering if the utilities permit is really covered here. I'm just not clear on that. If the digging if the advising of the town is seeking a permit before digging by utilities is covered, or are they still out on their own, working under their own authority?
This ordinance is really about non-public
Yeah,
improvements.
that's what I thought.
So any public type of improvement, I mean, obviously, I think the town would be privy to any type of utility coming in for that. Yeah.
But are we? No, we're not. We're still not. So that would be my point is we really started with that point a year ago or more. So I'm just seeking help on how we would address that because that's still not covered.
Could we possibly, for Peggy's comment, put up signs in areas on telephone poles? You know, please contact town before digging to avoid utilities.
I mean, that's actually a state and a federal ordinance that you call, I think, is it 811 dig, Pat?
Actually, 811 lets
Yeah.
me know, and we go out and locate all utilities. But like when gas mains are hit, usually that's an accident,
Oh.
a missed mark or something like that. It's not that we don't know they're there. A lot of times it's an accident when something gets hit because it is, we are notified, side streets, A1A, our guys go out there, locate our utilities, as the other utilities also go out and locate, but sometimes there are accidents.
So my question remains, are we covered with regards to ordinances or state laws to avoid having to know that they're actually digging? Do you know? That's how this came up a year ago.
Well, like I say, they have to notify 811, which 811 notifies us. So I know that they are going to be out there. We do get notified that somebody's going to be out there doing something in the right of way and we need to locate the utilities.
So is it fair to say we don't need an ordinance covering that then?
That would be up to you. I don't think it's necessary. I mean, we haven't run into a huge problem. Like you say, if a gas line gets hit or whatever, normally it's a missed mark or an accident. It's not.
Got it. So if it comes up again, Commissioner David can raise her previous issue and we can go from there.
Sure.
No, we don't need any more ordinances. We have double covered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Seems as though the practice is working out.
Yeah. Then I did notice in our nuisance ordinance, how is that handled? Because it's already covered. Ms. Allen, our nuisance ordinance section 17.2 covers certain items in the swales, such as the concrete pyramids, rounds, wood and PVC poles, et cetera. So does that preempt, are these redundant then?
I believe that section is referenced in the ordinance. If you bear with me one
Oh, sure.
second,
Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
find it.
I was trying to find that myself. Because they are, that is already on the books.
Yes, if you look on page 15 of your packets,
Uh-huh.
at the top of the page, it says the following improvements are permitted in the public right of way, except as provided in section 17-2(3). Is that the section that you're referencing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's it. Great. I missed that. Thank you.
Right.
Now, based on that, is it possible that we could maybe engage in code enforcement, removing or seeking removal of the items that are deemed, dangerous in the right of way, rights of way?
Yes, once this is passed,
Mhm.
then those become illegal.
Okay,
And-
they already are
And
under
because
section
they're
17.2.
hazardous, as long as it's hazardous,
Yes,
it's
sir.
not grandfathered.
Got it. But since they're already in the codes, so that's fine as long as we're moving forward.
And to make you feel better too,
Yes, sir.
I learned something about myself. Just a couple of days ago, I did my bike ride and went over the bridge. It's Spanish River. I went down and I figured I'm going to go into the sanctuary neighborhood So I just scooted between the gates. I could not believe how many homes had the pyramid spikes.
Mhm.
Now I said, okay, that looks kind of cute and that's nice and it's protecting the grass. And then all of a sudden, one of these landscape trucks with a big trailer came alongside of me and the road's not that wide and I'm riding and then I'm between the pyramids in the truck. So it absolutely made me think twice, man, I don't want to fall down now. I'm going to die. And they also have, I know we've had one resident in particular who raises the point, would have made a joke about our dome buttons that you have along, their concrete domes. Well, at the sanctuary, they have a lot of those. And when a truck drove over that dome, he then sank down into the grass and the mud and everything and just created a mess. So it really is a problem. I have to admit, and it is particularly important for bicyclists or motorcyclists. When he sees those spikes, that is a problem. I'm amazed that it's lasted this long.
Yes, thank you for that story. Mr. Laverty has his hand up.
I was just going to say, we have enforced on A1A when these certain nuisance items were in. I can't remember recall the time, sometime in the last year, somebody had put in some 4x4s right along the edge of A1A. We made them move it out. I think we even got a love letter to that effect saying, how can you make me do this? But this is the section that we use when something is an obstruction on A1A.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. If you give me one more second, I think I had another comment. Oh, I was on. Hang on. Oh, so we're all good with, we'll work this through with FDOT and with the commission and just make everyone cohesive in how we're going to move forward with everything as we get any further along. And do we have any updates on FDOT, Mr. Laverty, on any kind of a new timeline or anything? I know
No, they have
they're
not.
busy.
They have not given me any new or updated construction timelines outside of, end of 24 is when they're supposed to start construction or be in construction for those improvements. I know that they've done some survey work. I believe we got a drainage complaint from a resident somewhere on A1A that I think Brad and James Poole is going to go take a look at as part of the design. So they're recognizing some of those drainage features, but they're in that active design phase. We've also provided, it's kind of off topic, but provided them, additional crosswalk information that we've received over the years. So they're looking at that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. I know I brought copies of the accident report that we put together to provide to the commission that Linnell ran off. And just on a side note, I always find it interesting that the names of many people at FDOT mirror their jobs. There's Marsh, Poole, Green. Kind of interesting. So that's it for me. I appreciate everyone's hard work.
Okay.
We get our streets straightened out.
I don't have anything. It's fine.
Okay, I don't either.
So we have a motion.
Back to you. Go ahead.
I'd like to have a motion to approve ordinance number 21 -25, I guess, chapter 25.
No, it's, you can actually make a motion to approve item 8A, the proposed ordinance.
Okay, rather than what I was reading off of
She
that.
hasn't assigned a number yet.
See, this is where I'm doing this instead of you.
It's just 8A. That's all you need, John.
So I make a motion that we approve the new business resolution number 2021-8A. Is that right?
No,
No,
item
yes, I'm reading
It's
8A.
just
8A, item 8A.
8A. That's all.
Item 8A.
There you go.
So let it be said, so let it be done.
I'll second it. All in favor?
I,
What's that?
No, you have a roll call
Oh, you
vote
need a
on
roll
the
call on
second,
this?
on the second reading, you'll have a roll
Yeah,
call.
second
vote.
read.
Yes.
Okay. Phew. Well done. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, before Ingrid leaves, I really do want to thank her for dogging this for months. And it's a lot of good work. I do appreciate it. You had our backs.
Okay.
And thank you for your patience on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to resolution number 2021-038, the Marine Patrol Unit.
Yeah, so I'll get it started, then kick it over to Chief Hartman. It's a two-part item here. The first part is a budget resolution. Again, as we had discussed at our last meeting, we have an opportunity to procure a vessel that would be ready in the 60 to 75, maybe 90-day time range. So this would be the budget resolution allowing us to move forward with the acquisition of the marine unit vessel and all the necessary equipment. As we move forward, as you could see from Chief Hartman's presentation, there may be some additional tweaks, but they're minor in nature moving forward, and we have to kind of get the final touches. And I do this, that he'll tell me what those final touches are, but we could come back with a secondary budget adjustment a little bit later to tweak it. But this allows us to equipment, the boat, get it all in place, and any other types of things, pertinences that make it operational. And that's the budget resolution, which is 2021-038, which does have a number. And then after that, there's a Chief Hartman's kind of memorandum to me on some of the costs and anticipated timelines that you are all looking for. Just a little bit more fine tuning there.
Like to hear from Chief before we acknowledge this resolution.
At the last meeting, you asked for some of this information, and hopefully that answers some of the questions you had on what we looked at, what we would need to get the marine unit up and running. We're at that point. The manager has been able to appropriate the appropriate funds that we would need to do that, and we worked through some of the pieces. You see, we talk about personnel in there. The goal is not to have to increase our workforce at this point until we get into the marine unit, the deployment, and really can identify the roles, the responsibility, the obligations, the times, deployments, those type of things. But there could come a point where we add additional personnel that may come in the way of a reserve officers, those type of things. But we intend to do this right now with the current existing personnel. And as long as it doesn't suffer from other obligations, patrol functions, the 24/7 obligation that we have certainly in the community. So we will evaluate that as we work through the first year with the marine boat. And then some of the other costs are self-explanatory, the training, the fuel that we kind of project we would go through in a year, maintenance cost. You see at the end, the 12-month projection, and that includes obviously the purchase of the boat in the first year and the startup equipment. So if you back that out, you're looking at what we would normally need on fuel, boat maintenance. Over time, your training would become less and less as your initial officers are trained and prepared. So that cost will certainly evolve. We've seen budgets as low as less than $20,000 to run their marine unit on an annual basis. So depending on your obligation, the cost of fuel, those type of things, but training will be a big piece. And as we put our existing personnel through reserves, we should be fine. And I talk about it, training, how serious it is. If you see, you'll probably see it tonight. Boca's boat just capsized, Boca Police Department, out in the ocean earlier today. So hopefully their officer is okay. We think he is, and probably see something on the news. But that's what we're dealing with out there, and training that we have to evolve to and get our people involved in.
Chief, quick question.
Yes.
If you were at the point where you did have to put somebody on, because it's basically weekends, holidays, et cetera, where you may have to be fully staffed here on the road, et cetera.
Sure.
Part-time person plus your 12-month running costs. What are we looking at on a 12-month rolling basis?
So just fuel, maintenance, somewhere in the area of $20,000 a year, part-time, half a position is roughly 40,000, 45,000 a year.
So we're looking at a
Costing
run rate of
salary
around $60,000.
Including personnel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, just to give you a little feedback, there is an open position within a budgeted but vacant position in the police. So we have that flexibility. If we brought somebody, if we found somebody or chief found that he needed to bring somebody on to kind of run this a little bit more, there is that personnel cost already covered and in the budget that you've approved.
So, I mean, what we're looking at is we know what the startup costs are. We know the cost of the boat, and amortize that in maybe 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And we know that we're looking at worst case scenario, $60,000 a year to run it, possibly not even that much. So now we got a handle on the whole thing. John, you got any questions?
Yeah, I'm more interested on the training side, because it would seem to me, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of an officer. You now have to learn a new set of laws and what can be enforced and what cannot be enforced. How you would approach suspicious activity. I have to believe, drug running is going to eventually be an issue. Since we're already getting drugs, floating in, at some point, the intercoastal, Florida, Miami is going to be a transport. So I'm wondering if there's an accident like today or like happened, will the officer have the basic training for emergency medical aid? And at what point does this require possibly an EMS to go along on, to help in the process of training, orientation? I'm just trying to understand what is it that's involved in training beyond the normal police training that is conducted?
Sure. And once you get into that marine environment, there is quite a bit of different training, specialized training that they would need. All of their basic skills and understanding of law and search and seizure and detaining is all applies. But the navigational part of what they're going to have to be responsible for, there's multiple facets that we've already engaged in. Everybody that's here that has applied to be a part of the Marine unit has already taken the basic online Marine course. They've done that just over the short couple of weeks that we've had on duty while they're working. So they're all in the phases of working through that. There'll be practical, more classroom operation locally, additional with other jurisdictions, and then some in-house training. So you see how we break it out. There's very minimal cost in that, but there's some time commitment and there's some OJT on the job training that they'll have to do in the field, operating a boat, navigating a boat, stopping another boat, all those things that come with being out on the water, enforcing the laws, the regulations, the boater safety issues that are out on the intercoastal. So, but there'll be quite a bit of training and ongoing training. This will all be a process for us as we move forward. Nothing astronomical in the way of cost or expenses. We're even looking how we can host something here, maybe next year, to bring some of those entities here and be part of that. So we're looking forward to all that training that's going to provide.
Are there other training seminars or
There's all kinds.
sessions all over the
Yeah,
place?
all kinds. Coast Guard.
Coast
Boca has already
Guard,
offered,
yeah.
said, they do training all the time, that they've include us in the training that they want to do. So they're looking forward to a partner with them on the waterway out there. So we'll be taking advantage of all those opportunities. FWC, they provide some basic training. IPTM in Jacksonville. There's several different models and different levels of the training that we'll be providing to officers.
So, and one other question, has there been any more progress on where we're going to put this boat?
So we do have 2 private residences that have offered dock space to it that are viable. And we also have an association marina that has offered dock space to it. And we're waiting until this final piece is done to really delve back in and finalize something with one of those entities. Well, more than one, at no cost.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, Chief and I have had conversations with a lot of the grant opportunities. They're pretty robust. So we wouldn't want to look into constructing our own until we can leverage that opportunity, which I think would be very useful if we can get, like, they're pretty big grants too, like 50-50
Some
type
are
grant break.
Matching
So
dollars.
we may want to wait. That's what we were going to do, is kind of wait to build our own until we can time it with that grant program. because it looks like we have a pretty good opportunity there.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you for moving very quickly on this. I know a lot of people will be really happy that it's going into effect so quickly. This looks good to me. Question, maybe not apropos, but when the Coast Guard stops you for anything, they have the right to then search the boat to make sure you have the proper number of life jackets and proper safety gear and number of different things. Will we be able to do that as well?
Yes, once we have established marine unit on the waterway, we will have those same roles and responsibilities and obligations for boater safety and enforcement on the waterways.
Because sometimes just knowing that there's somebody there who can stop you
Yeah.
will cause people to behave in a more reasonable manner.
And that statute in the last presentation I had gives the municipality, the different officers, those authority to do that when they're out there.
And I'm assuming there's interest that we have officers who would be happy to go out.
We do. We have some already internally that have expressed interest and actually all started their training on this.
That's great. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing the first boat out there.
First, are we buying more? Oh, gee. We're going to have frigates, I guess.
Peg?
All good for me. I want to just relate the story of Officer Shursky and Detective Fernandez out fishing on their own off-duty times and rescued kittens from a boat out in the ocean. So being a cat owner, I just thought I'd relate a little light story. They've already done rescues, though not human, on the water.
True.
It's all good for me, and I'm thrilled that we're moving ahead. I think many people in town will be equally very satisfied.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about this, and I think it'll be a great addition for the town and for mutual aid prospects going forward as we build out our public safety. I guess I would add dockage on there. That was definitely a question I had, whether or not we had just overlooked, the cost of dockage. I'm pleased to hear that it's at no cost, which is excellent and very generous of our residents to do that. And I guess another administrative type question. So as I look through the document, the total cost says 195, but the adjustment to the budget is 185. Is there a reason for the 10,000 difference?
Well,
I think the equipment was left out on the ones.
Oh, okay. I was just
Yeah.
wondering. I didn't know if
My guess is that's the difference.
I don't know. Is that the difference?
There's a few remaining pieces I need from Chief Hartman that'll come in, and Lieutenant O. When those pieces come in, I'll be able to have a more refined budget amendment. Right now, we're kind of guessing a little bit. I need them to provide a little bit more concrete detail. So this allows the boat and equipment to happen.
Right, okay.
Like I said, there's flexibility in the personnel line items because there's a vacancy. So
Okay.
we have personnel coverage already, the cost covered at the moment until they tell me exactly what they need, and then we can make those moves.
But I think that's a good point, that it's not 185, it's estimated 185. It might be a better way to record this official.
Yeah, because I think they're gonna try to get us a deal on the boat, right? They're gonna take a discount.
Yeah, I also wondered if maybe it was like just the timing of it too, maybe the additional 10,000. I imagine there's some timing component of it also. So, okay, that's all I had. Thank you. I'm excited.
That's it. Extremely well done. And just like to mimic what my associate over here said. Thank you for the speed in which you brought all this together. I'm sure that our electorate will also be happy to see us out there. Extremely well done.
And the commission made this a priority. We heard a lot, also feedback from the community about this, so that I think we hence the urgency. But Lieutenant O was quite a bit of work behind the scenes that has all that acumen and understanding of managing a Marine unit, invaluable to getting us to this point. So even though you're thanking me, that's really who did all this work that got this information for us. So
I have one extra question.
yes.
No, you
Will
had
we-
a chance.
Sorry. Will we be patrolling in the ocean as well as on the intercoastal at times?
So of course, at points we will, and as we talked about training, there'll be various levels of training. Big difference from being able to patrol the intercoastal to navigating the inlet and the ocean. And you'll see by that example today when you see what happens. So at points, yes, we certainly will down the road.
Thank you.
I have very limited knowledge of our waterways here in my days of boating or pretty much in the past. But from what I've been told, navigating the Boca inlet, outlet, whatever one wants to refer to, is not an easy task. So good luck. Okay. I don't have any further questions. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept this as stated?
I move that we approve resolution number 2021-038 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's all yours, Chief.
Thank you.
Good to go, Chief.
Let's move on to resolution number 2021-039, which is the building department vehicle. I guess I'll turn it over to you. It's
That's me. Yeah. So
on page 44, by the way.
So the building department needs an inspection services vehicle. We don't have one, haven't had one. Code enforcement has one, but not building. So, and again, keeping in line with the commission's desire to green or electrify the fleet, this would be to procure an electric vehicle along with the installation of the charging stations. The dollars are coming from the reserves of the building department. This is not from the general fund ad valorem taxes. This is from building permit revenue, and this is a very appropriate use for those to acquire that vehicle and install the charging station. So this would be the budget adjustment to recognize that.
Before we go to each commissioner, just a quick question. What's the vehicle you have in mind? And what's the cost breakdown between the vehicle and the charging station?
Both good questions. So it's with Bartow Ford, similar to the one that we acquired for the police department. It's an Emoc, which is the Ford electric vehicle, but basically sedan. They call it the Emoc. That's about 40. And then the charging station is about 35. So we just rounded off around 75,000.
30 or 35,000 for a charging station?
Well, basically, we got to run a whole new panel and bring a whole new service line to provide it. And when we do it, we got to make sure we have enough. We're putting an extra install on it too, so we could do multiple vehicles. We don't have a charging station. So we have to get the power, put it to the wall, the units. I'm rounding up rather than rounding down. So I have to come back and ask for $6,000 or something. So we are estimating that it'll probably be around 72,000. I rounded up to about 75 just to be safe.
I'm not an electrician, okay? But we investigated putting 3 charging stations in, and we had to run the line pretty far. And that was $15,000.
Yeah.
So I would ask that somebody take
that's
another look at this
for all 3 or just one of each of those?
for all 3.
Well, we could take a look. I know that Pat was
So,
working on
I
a
mean,
little bit with Jeff.
I know
so maybe
this
Pat-
situation here is obviously different than our situation at our building, but I really question, even if the numbers are right, I question spending that kind of money for a charging station for a car.
This charging station is a little different than a residential charging station. We're gonna have to bring 480 volts out of the water plant with a transformer. And these are fast chargers. These fast charger than something you plug in at home. So it's an industrial charger.
These were fast chargers also.
Okay, but this is an industrial. And like I said, we got to come out here with 480 come out. We've had several different prices. Actually, we went through Sourcewell, which is how do I put it?
cooperative purchasing.
Cooperative purchasing, and it was much higher than what we went out and got ourselves. So we are in line with this charging system that we want to get for the water plant. And well, it's not for the water plant, but for the town. And it's also because of the transformer. Transformers aren't cheap either.
Technology is moving at a rapid pace on charging stations, as we all know. You know, as much as I would like to see us with an electric vehicle, it might be premature. It just doesn't seem, why would spend $75,000 basically for an electric car? That's basically what we're doing.
Right. But these charges are also going to take care of the police department. That's why
What is the
we're-
police department doing now?
They don't have a car yet. I'm saying as they get their chargers, we're making this expandable.
Yeah.
So when they do get their chargers, we'll have everything ready for them. And
So
that's
we
what,
have the Tesla, which was donated by,
Yeah, how it's being charged now.
we don't have it.
we
Right.
don't have it, it's under research somewhere else. When that comes in, we'll eventually have 3 electric vehicles in our fleet that'll need to be charged.
Whoa, you just talked about buying one
Right,
and a Tesla that we have, that's 2. Where's
plus
the third
another
one?
Emoc, so we have 3. You approved a Ford that was already ordered in this budget for the police
You've
department.
gone too fast for me.
Sorry.
We have a Tesla. We're looking at buying an electric car now. That's 2. Where's the third one?
You already bought it in the police department.
And how is that being charged?
It isn't because we haven't taken delivery. We need to do this now.
Oh, that's on order.
Right.
Well, how
All,
did we-
again, we say we're gonna have all these, a
Well,
lot of the
no,
backlog.
No,
yeah.
time out. How do we plan to charge the one that's on order?
We're gonna put in the charging station.
So we decided to buy one without without knowing how we're going to charge it?
We bought it knowing that we'd be putting in a charger. Now we're putting in the charger.
So we made a decision to buy a vehicle without knowing how we were going to charge it? Or
Charge it.
the commission was given the cost and approved a charging a vehicle with somebody thinking that we were going to approve a $35,000 charging station at a later date?
We can, now we need the bigger charging station now that we have more vehicles. So this wasn't a shell game to, against the commission. We bought that vehicle that could be plugged into a regular 110 and go, but then we got a second, which was donated, and then a third. So now if
I
we.
got
if
to
you
tell
approve
you,
the third-
I'm very uncomfortable with spending $35,000 for a charging station. I don't know about the rest of the commission, but I am very uncomfortable with this.
Well, I thought the police car was a hybrid.
We have hybrids now because
Yeah,
we
we
can't
do.
go full
But the one
electric.
that we ordered, isn't that a hybrid as well?
We ordered a hybrid for a patrol vehicle, the whatever, and then we got another hybrid for an administrative vehicle, and we tried by bringing in the first Emoc. Then we had a donation of a Tesla that's being kind of supported by the police foundation. And since we're going to the electric, Mr. Remus originally was going to get a Maverick, which is just a small little mini pickup. I said, let's go to the electric because we've already got 2 now. Let's make it a third and we can charge all 3.
Oh, so
and
we
we'll
don't
have-
have an electric coming in. We have another
Hybrid.
hybrid coming in.
No,
We have a hybrid too. We have 4 vehicles. We did this exercise the other day. We just 4 vehicles that
Okay.
You-
It's confusing. I still don't understand.
you have 3.
I thought that the police vehicle that we
You understand what
ordered
we have?
is not an electric, it's a hybrid.
But listen,
We haven't
listen,
received
listen,
yet.
listen. So we have 2 hybrids that were ordered, one for police administration, one for fire chief or fire administration, and we got an Emoc. After we approved those in the budget, the foundation was able to get a donation of a Tesla. So now we have 2 electric vehicles. And in staying inconsistent with it, since we need to put a charger in, we
Okay.
got a third one or are requesting a
All
third
right,
one now.
please don't call them electric vehicles. That's where I'm getting confused.
We
These
do
are
have
all-
3 electric vehicles.
These are all hybrids.
No.
no,
We're acquiring 3 electric vehicles.
not
They're
hybrid.
We've
not
already
hybrids.
approved one. We got one donated and we're asking for the third.
No, those are not hybrids.
We approved an electric vehicle,
Yeah,
not a hybrid.
We did,
and a hybrid, yes.
and hybrid.
All of the
So we
Explorers
approved
are
an electric
hybrids.
vehicle, not knowing how we were going to charge it.
We knew we were going to put in a charger and we were procuring the pricing to do it. We were
That
going
wasn't
to-
included in the decision that we
Did
made.
did we know that at the time?
I don't think so. It was not discussed.
Because we were trying to get the pricing for it. So we've been going through Sourcewell and multiple vendors to see what it is. And now that we have 2, we had to upsize the electric charging station because now we're going to potentially have a third.
I'm with the mayor on this, and I was just sharing some of this by accident earlier with the chief. I've done some homework on electrics. Here's the problem. Everybody talks about, oh, it's green, it's great, it's, you're not using gas and all that stuff, okay? Well, that might be true. On the other side of the coin, and no one seems to talk about, the prices are high for an electric vehicle. Repairing an electric vehicle is not cheap. And the expertise available to fix an electric vehicle is not plentiful. The trade-in value on these vehicles is terrible. I never understood that. The charging stations obviously have to be ordered. I didn't realize that this other Emoc is only electric. I thought it was a hybrid. So that's my mistake. The
Mine
charging
also.
time is dependent upon the charging station.
Right.
And we got to have fast chargers. Oh, that's more money. The range, well, that seems to be good for us because we're only got 3 miles up and down. But I'll come back to a very good point you brought up, which is the technology itself is changing so rapidly that electric vehicles today are going to be considered obsolete vehicles in the next couple, 3 years, based on how fast this technology for electric vehicles is moving. And especially, frankly, after the mega factory out in Nevada that is being built for Tesla. So all of this is changing so fast. I don't understand why we can't just go with hybrids, using both gas and powered by the momentum and brakes on the vehicle. I just think that's a practical and easy way to move forward rather than just leap into this electric vehicle world. Anyway, so for you, I think you're with me. Yeah, we have one Tesla that's been donated. And then apparently we've ordered an Emoc that's electric, but we didn't talk about the Emoc being one that would require a charging station other than just plugging it into any 110 outlet. Now that we're talking about adding more, a third one, now you need 3 charging stations. So that's, now we got to have a transformer. I mean, it does start to build up the expense. So I think where we're at, no?
If I may, we discussed purchasing electric vehicle with the budget. It was clearly identified in the budget documents and there was supporting materials that we were buying an electric vehicle.
Yes.
The donated one was new. We didn't know we were getting it. We got it. So the foundation is doing it. So now we'll
Yeah,
have 2.
That's cool. That's cool.
With the free donated, we need to charge the one that's donated and purchased. Adding a third charging port on it shouldn't be out of whack, but we just thought we'd add a third electric vehicle in here. We were going to ask again for a Maverick, but we decided to stay in line with the electric. Now, the maintenance costs, as we are understanding, a lot of the operational maintenance costs you have on these electric vehicles, you don't have that are on the traditional vehicle.
That's right.
So a lot of that, so the maintenance costs in the short term aren't going to be there. Long term, you're right. Maybe there are some unknowns on the battery recycling, how long those last. These vehicles are not patrol vehicles. They're inspection or admin, short distances short. So we don't have range issues and we don't pay fuel charges, and fuel is going up. And so we don't have the fuel cost. So I think we're finding ourselves price neutral. The pricing we're getting out of the sheriffs for this, they're less than the hybrids to get the full electric. But again, we're using them for an administrative capacity, not in the patrol.
Okay,
Now-
first of all, you don't have to keep the Tesla. You can sell it. Therefore, we don't have to get the charging station for the Tesla. We could cancel the order on the electric and change it to a hybrid if we wanted to. That's one thing. If we wanted to. If we wanted to keep it, we can keep it. To buy a second electric, not knowing our experience on the first electric, is a bad idea. We have a very good experience with the hybrid. So buying more hybrids is a good idea. So we have a lot of options here. But to spend $35,000 or $32,000 or $37,000 on charging station because we have a donated car and we're going to buy a new car, that makes sense to me. A lot cheaper to just buy a Mustang and sell the Tesla and wait for new technology. It's an option.
I hope one of those is still
I
an
don't
option,
doubt
yes.
that we bought an electric and it was presented as an all-electric car. I just don't remember it, but I do not question you. Okay. And if the charging station was on the plan, it was on the plan. I don't question on that either. It just went through my mind. That was all. But we don't have to execute the plan either. We always have options until we, okay. It just seems to me as though it's an awful lot of money. I don't know that we need to spend it. I think we need to reevaluate.
Would it be a problem for the building department to use a hybrid instead of an electric?
Again, this, Mr. Remus had said he was going to order a Maverick. I said, I thought we were, this is my misinterpretation. I will own it. I thought we were moving in this direction to move to the electric fleet for
No,
administrative
time out.
services.
It's not your misinterpretation. It's our misinterpretation.
It's okay. I'm just
Okay.
saying, so again, yes, he could use some other
We'll
vehicle.
own it.
There's nothing that,
Okay.
yeah.
We'll own the mistake.
Yeah. So yes, he could use a different vehicle. He wasn't asking for an electric. Like I said, why don't you do the electric since we're going in this direction? Building could then share in the cost of installing the charging station, you know, so
It just
it made
seems-
sense.
I'm not against electric vehicles. I'm against that much money for a charging station. You can buy another car for that kind of money.
Well, I mean, it is a big investment to get the power there. Again, I'm rounding up, not rounding down.
Yeah,
So
but
I'll
you're-
get you more
you're right- you're
accurate
right-
numbers, but
you're-
it'll be in the upper 20s to low 30s from what I'm hearing. So,
So you're rounding up a few grand. I mean, that's not going to change my position.
okay, fair enough.
But I'm only one voice. So let's hear what everybody else thinks.
Well, first question, how much does a Maverick cost as opposed to the Emoc?
The Maverick's about 30, Emoc's about 43.
All right.
And
Yeah,
add to that price difference, the charging station.
Right.
no, I
And there's your
understand
investment.
that. Someone looked into running a charging station to their spot in my garage, and it was $10,000 to run the one line with one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
once
that's not a
you, see,
fast
once you
charge.
pay to get the power there, added lines are not a lot of money.
That's not a fast charger.
I have no problem with an electric car. I know a lot of people who have them and absolutely love them. For sure, especially for short runs. And I think they are, it may take you a while to make up the money, but they are less expensive to operate than a gas powered. I know nothing about hybrids.
Until you trade it in.
My problem is we're spending an additional $47,000.
Yeah.
Charging station plus the $17,000 difference in price.
Well, do you think the cost of putting in charging stations is going to go down?
Yes,
Yes.
they already have.
And the Tesla can't be plugged into a wall?
No.
It
Well,
needs a
it can be,
special-
but yeah,
No, you-
that's where you leave it all night for 12 hours to recharge if it's empty.
Yeah, but if it's not going to be used 24 hours a day,
Right.
or again, you can sell the Tesla. Because it was donated doesn't mean you have to use it.
I think they'd be a little upset with the commitment
Yeah, I
to
think they
do
would.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would. They would expect us to use the Tesla.
We're not selling it, sit down. It was just a philosophical point. That was all.
Just trying to shake you in your boots.
Don't worry.
I mean, as far as technology, I don't know anything about this because I'm just not geared that way. I do know I have a lot of relatives who love them.
No, and it's great to have the police department have an electric vehicle to be playing with it, experimenting with it, learning it, because that is the future. Just, I don't think it's today, that's all. The time, to me, it's a timing issue.
I can go either way.
Chief, you wanted to say something before we move it down the line?
So yes, and I want to put this all on the town manager. We have been looking at this for several years. I know we've heard it from prior commissions, different people in the community talking about going green, doing these type of things. And this was our small step into this. In our research, we know departments that are trying to move their whole fleets to electric vehicles. That's the way it is. Well, we tried to do this with one unmarked car right now, and it so happened that the building department saw that opportunity to do that same type of small, efficient sport utility type vehicle into the building department fleet also. And we did talk about this at the beginning of the budget phase. And in that interim, a Tesla fell into our lap with no tax dollars that we're putting foundation dollars, donation money into it, to experiment with that, to be a prototype vehicle, to see what it takes to all the electric that it takes to run our vehicles, video and cameras and radar, laptops, all those things that go in there. How does that work without trying to tie it to our existing fleet to be committed 12 hours, sometimes hot seated 24 hours a day. So we had that opportunity to experiment and prototype that thing. So that's where we were. We can look at some type of lesser charge or to trickle charge, which is what we would have to go to. This was more of a commercial type that they looked at it to be able to expand and grow off down the road. But the transform and the things that had to go into that was kind of something that evolved that we weren't aware of till Pat had the whole electrician.
Don't get me wrong. I am very much in favor of technology and of moving to electric and green, however, we just agreed to buy a boat that wasn't in the budget.
Sure.
We're going to take on some additional charges. We're in great financial shape, but to me, it's not worth an additional $47,000 today to do this. But to me, it's just a money issue.
And can I also clarify? We've been saying EMAC.
It's Mach-E.
It's a Mach
Put it
E,
backwards. Mach-E.
and it's also a Mustang.
No,
The sport utility Mustang that's electric.
it looks more like a crossover SUV type.
Yeah,
Four-door.
exactly.
It's not a Mustang.
But it's a small one. I mean, it's a small vehicle. It's,
More of a crossover
it
type.
does carry the Mustang label, but it's an electric version and it's very fast and it's, yeah. But I didn't understand this Maverick thing because I thought that was being confused with.
No, that was the original request from the
Yeah.
building department, and I suggested bringing to the commission the electric vehicle. And again, that was my miscommunication that I thought we were moving in this direction.
So it's
Well, we are. It's
MACA.
just the timing.
Yeah,
to me.
and this,
That's all
again, this
it
is coming out of the building funds. This isn't coming out of the general fund,
It's
but I
not-
get it. I get it. The perception, I
It's
got it.
just, to me, it's
Yep.
one, it's perception, but more importantly, to me, these are total dollars, regardless of what fund it comes out of and what budget can afford it.
It's just
can't
town
afford.
money.
It's grand total town money. And rounded off, it's $50,000. And I don't think it's a wise investment today. That's all. And don't say, put it all on him. It's us. We all work together here. It's one team.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I get it. I just wanted to give it some context.
And that's your goddamn fault, chief.
We can look at what we're doing. If there's something of a lesser charger that would be acceptable at a minimal cost, we could come back to. Otherwise, we might have to cancel our order and
No,
and replace
my
it. with something.
limited knowledge, only because a good buddy of mine had a Tesla, and we looked into the charging stations for our place. At the mall, they have the quick charges. I think it takes 20 minutes or something like that. It's very fast. You can put a slow charge on, charges it up overnight. So you can't be using the vehicle 24/7. And then in Delray, there's a couple of quick charging stations. And I think at the Boca Town Hall, there are charging stations. I don't know if it's the quick charge or not. Do you know? Okay. Okay. So it's not convenient, but you can take it to have a quick charge. Okay. So there are some places relatively close that you can send somebody out, have them plug it in, get a cup of coffee. Okay. Let me see what everybody else thinks here.
I'd rather have a first generation Mustang, preferably Shelby, fully loaded.
You want to hear the engine.
GT
And I'll offer to
50.
test drive it. However, question, do we know what it costs to charge of
Oh,
fully?
literally nothing.
Just is
I'll give you an example.
pennies, dimes,
It's
quarters?
pennies. It's about $35 every 3 months.
Okay, cool. Got it. Secondly, I know at the League of Cities 2 years ago, the electric vehicles, fully electric was a big topic. And there was a bill last year to have every gas station install a charging station, a quick charge, and it failed.
Of course it failed.
At the recent meetings, which I'll talk about later next week, this has taken a backseat due to the pandemic, the masks, the health recovery, and the economy. So I'm not saying that this affects us, but I'm just giving you some background. I raised the issue at the league. Well, we had 2 years of 7 hurricane evacuations in 04, 05, 7 in 2 years. And how are you supposed to get back home with an electric vehicle with no power? And they said, oh, we didn't think of that. So I'm wondering what we do if we have 1 or 2 cars out of service, if we have an extended.
Generator.
So that's my next question. Will a generator power them?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Personally, I would rather do a hybrid. I just think there's so many unknowns, and it statewide, I'm all for it in concept. I just don't know if we're quite there, and I don't want to overload our town. If in fact we could do a hybrid possibly. I mean, I hate to turn back a donated Tesla and insult whomever made that very noble
Just to
gift.
make you feel more comfortable
Yes,
on
sir.
the other side of it. A fully charged Tesla, the older models, which this is probably, have like 250-mile radius, a range.
Right, okay,
Got to remember, our town is 3.5 miles or something.
got it. But if you evacuated, like we had to evacuate,
But
to the
even if you're
Keys once,
evacuated, they can probably drive for 2 weeks around our town.
right, but I'm talking out of town. Sometimes we had to way out of town. I'm just saying
Yeah,
that's
no,
another
I'm just talking
option.
about for patrol purposes.
Oh, for patrol, got
You
it,
know,
got it.
I mean, I don't know how many miles
Got it.
a patrol does in a day.
I see. But we can charge
fully
it with the
charged, yeah.
generator under some
You-
power
you can-
outage extended.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little bit leaning toward the hybrid just because there's several unknowns, but that would be my thought
Okay,
until we get further along.
Natasha.
Considering that the cars probably won't drive a lot in a day, is it possible just to use a standard plug-in? Because it wouldn't, right? I mean, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna use up its entire charge every day, right?
Correct.
So if you plugged into and it's not used 24 hours a day.
Correct.
So wouldn't you have 16 hours to charge and it wouldn't even use?
I'm gonna jump in and just go, I'll even piggyback with the mayor. If we're gonna make this investment, let's get quick charge. Let's do it right if we're gonna do this.
Of course.
I'm not gonna, Chief and I just talked, we're not gonna white knuckle this to the ground. I mean, if you guys are uncomfortable with, we can move to a different car and vehicle and move away from the electrical, wait for the Tesla to come in. We'll see what happens. Building department can go back to getting a Maverick. We can get another administrative Explorer, which is a hybrid, to fill in that role. It's not, we'll get the vehicles. It's just right. If we're gonna go electrical, which I kind of stated here, we need to get the real charging station. I don't
Well, the
want to.
reason I bring it up is and I agree, if these things, the costs go down, pretty quickly. Could we, for the Tesla that we have and the one that's coming in, just use a regular, for 2 vehicles, just use the regular 110 or whatever to charge it, because we're not going to use that much, and maybe just wait out until, a year or 2, see what the costs are for the supercharger, and at least see how it goes with the electrical vehicle before we make the big investment now on a supercharger. My suggestion is to just wait out with the few vehicles we have, given that we don't use that much charge in a day. I don't know if that's an option.
Everything's an option. I just, if we're gonna go electric, hate to say it, let's do it right and get it set up to go forward. If we're not, we'll just move away from it until we get the Tesla tweaked out and see how that works through the system.
If it's just the Tesla, we're okay. We can get it charged as we need it, as we experiment with it. It's not enrolled into our everyday fleet. That's what the prototype is there for, to be able to work through those things, understand run times, charge times, all that type of stuff. So if we're not going to do that, we still don't have a problem with the Tesla. We would then cancel the order on the 2 electric vehicles, the building department and the police department, and just swap that for a hybrid, maybe a little bit more weight, but it would solve your concern about trying to put big costs into a charge station right now.
Good. Thank you.
Mayor,
Just had a quick question. How will the Tesla be outfitted and what purpose will it be?
Right now, they're just going to experiment with it.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Get more knowledge.
And then secondly, would these stations be available to the public to charge their vehicles?
No.
No.
I know that there's been some request
No,
of that.
you don't wanna
Just
do that.
asking.
No.
We're not that far yet. Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
No.
Are we comfortable with that?
No.
Yeah, I am, but I have another question. I don't know that you can just plug it into a regular outlet. I think you need to get you can?
You can.
Yeah,
Because-
It's just, it takes a
lot
long
longer,
time.
Right,
Yeah.
but they're not using that much charge, so
But
that's
that's what
why.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're using it for administrative, you're not going to be
Yeah,
using it
It's not going to
overnight.
be in the fleet.
Yeah, but what
You can-
is
That's not
relevant,
an issue. It's
what is
charging.
relevant and the question I have, because this is one thing that's come up now that we're talking about a Mustang versus a Tesla versus whatever else we might order in the future. The charging stations, will the same plug be able to charge both vehicles, even though they're different manufacturers?
I believe so. I
To
think
make
they
it
share that
universal.
technology.
And I think that's part of the reason why it's more money.
The answer is
By the way.
no. No, they're different plugs, but Teslas come with adapters.
Yes, and that's
Universal-
exactly why they cost
Universal
more money.
adapter.
Yeah. So the point being is they're not going to do that now. We're going to revert back to hybrids. We're going to
Exactly.
stay there for a little while, going to watch the technology.
So I truly think that we don't want to turn down the Tesla. I think that's great. Let's
He's got it, John.
experiment,
It's not
learn from it, plug it in.
Done.
I got it. But I also think that the hybrid is the way to go for now. I mean, that
That's
really
what
should
they're
be
doing.
our strategy. I'm agreeing,
Okay. Done.
especially for the issues I talked about, especially trading
Yep.
too.
With that being said, it looks like you're all wanting to move away. We can make the swap out with Bartow. It's not a problem. They're great to work with off the sheriff's contract. For the budget amendment, would you approve a lesser budget amendment so the building department can get the vehicle it needs
Of course.
at 30 grand versus the 75 just for the Maverick or Escape hybrid kind of
Sure.
combo thing?
Yep.
Thank you.
So you want a motion for how much?
30.
Okay, so that would be item 11E. I'll make a motion.
Same accounts, just it'll be 30 instead of 7.
Yeah, make a motion to approve 11E for $30,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Actually, that's actually, C.
What's that?
That's actually C, the building department vehicle.
Oh, I'm
Item C,
sorry.
Resolution
Yep,
2021-039.
ABC, building the, yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's for 11C for the building department vehicle in the amount of $30,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to item D, resolution number 2021-040, which is building insurance. Can be found on page 49. And Marshall, back to you.
Yeah, this is just, for whatever reason, it was missed during the budget process. So we never appropriated their share of our PREA, as we recall, insurance bills, their portion as the building department. So this puts it in their budget. The
Huh.
26,568.97, because we got the bills from them and we didn't see that it was placed in the budget. So we are now correcting that. So it's just
So was it a missed line item altogether?
it appears so.
So the budget that we approved is now $26,000 higher.
It's short. We're gonna amend it to go up to cover the
Yeah, yeah.
insurance
Oh, yeah,
costs.
sure. That's what I meant.
Okay, need a motion.
Gotta have insurance.
You got it.
I move we approve resolution number 2021-040.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's move on to E, can be found on page 54. Approve and authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Shenandoah Construction in the amount of $75,070 to relocate the storm drain pipe located between 4314 and 4308 Tranquility Drive. You're already up there. Fill us in.
As you read in the memo, 2 years ago, I had all the storm drains cameraed, and we found the one on Intercoastal Drive that there were some pin piles drove right down through our pipe. And that's because we don't own an easement there. So when the builder did a survey, it did not show our pipe there. So that pipe was put in without a legal easement 10 years ago. So we have no rights to go on the property.
You were here 10 years ago.
You're right there, but it got by me.
Yes, full disclosure here.
So, but, so the quick fix, not the quick fix, but the most economical way is to abandon the line, since we don't own any easement there, to plug it up and then reroute it to the southernmost outlet that goes into the intercoastal. And that's what we plan on doing with your approval
For the 75,000,
for the 75,000. Correct.
and it will go into the intercoastal
Yes.
as a storm drain.
Yeah, as it is right now anyhow. We're just rerouting it. So it's not going out this outfall, it's going out a different outfall. That's all. We're not adding any, we're actually deleting one of the outfalls and just rerouting it to another outfall.
Why do anything? Why is it a problem? Why do anything?
Because there's pin piles going down through the pipe that can get clogged. And also there's also sand falling down, and we're losing Mr. Green. It's on Mr. Greenwald's, Dr. Greenwald's property, and he's losing a little bit of sand as the tide comes in and out because of the hole in the pipe.
So his whole house can get sucked right into the intercoastal. Okay, I got it.
I think it's probably not a good idea to have holes in those pipes
Right.
under any
so.
circumstances. This seems like the appropriate proposal that, from what I can see, the pricing looks good. And we're doing this with Broward.
Piggybacking to Broward College.
And it was budgeted, so we did contemplate this as part of the budget process. This is
yeah.
just to spend over the spending cap.
Okay, I'm good with this.
I'm not sure if you said Intercoastal Drive, but it's actually
At
Tranquility.
Tranquility, I apologize. Yeah.
It's no
Tranquility
worries. I
Drive.
just wanted for the record to
Right,
be
right.
clear.
Yeah, Tranquility
And
Drive.
what caused this?
When they put up a privacy wall on Mr. Brown's property, they had to pour a footer and they put a block wall up. So they put pin piles in to keep the footer.
Ron Brown or Roger Brown? There's
Roger
two
Brown.
Browns. I
Roger
see.
Brown.
Okay, got it. I know this was a couple years ago, so they've been waiting for a while, and they're losing, Dr. Greenwald is then losing.
Yeah,
Land,
losing
yeah,
some property.
it's
through the
sucking it
whole-
down.
Yeah, sucking
Okay.
it down.
So I'm all for that. It needs to be corrected, I guess.
Seems reasonable to me. Yeah, I'm in agreement.
What does an easement have to do with this? If we had the easement or not, we'd still have to do it.
On the other ones, we have a clear deeded easement where our pipes are. Dr. Greenwald already made it specific at one point. He did not want us on his property working because we don't have an easement. So therein lies the legal problem, is we can't go on private property to fix anything that we don't own.
But if we had the easement, we would still have to repair it.
Yes, we would have to do something. The rerouting is still and if you were to fix it, it would be quite expensive because of where it is on top of the wall, restoration. It would get quite costly to fix that. I mean, it could be fixed, but it would be a little bit more than 75,000. That I assure you.
Yeah, so rerouting it's a better idea anyhow.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the rerouting it's going under the road, so it'll be under, everything else will be under our easement. So we'll be in the clear.
Better off in the long
Yeah,
run.
better off in the long run.
Okay with me. Thank you. Need a motion to accept? Oh, okay.
The standard 27-page addendum, yeah, I got it. Just kidding, just kidding.
Attaboy.
Okay. I move that we authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Shenandoah Construction for the amount of $75,070 to relocate the storm drain pipe located between 4314 and 4308 Tranquility Drive.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we are going to do the item that we added as F, and that's the rescue dollar plans. Marshall.
Thank you, Mayor. As we kind of briefly alluded to at our special meeting earlier, we wanted to double back that as we know that we have a sewer lining project that's a front. We did receive $2 million, a little bit less, but basically $2 million from the federal government under the American Rescue Plan Act. I had inquired with Mr. Torsivia in his office if our funding limitation in our charter would apply to the use of these funds to cover the cost of a project that is earmarked as a lawful use of those dollars under the American Rescue Plan Act. As I had indicated also, water and sewer are really the only types of projects that were in there that we qualify for or have scheduled or in line to do so. With where we did it during the budget process, we said we put the placeholders in, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 amounts because at the time of budget, we didn't know the final determination, but we slotted that those dollars would be in the water sewer fund. So now the question I asked is that I've got a project that needs to get done. You need your sewers fixed in line because we have some cracks and aging infrastructure there. We are going to go out to bid to do it all at once, but I asked the question, if it's earmarked for a specific purpose only, and we're not pledging ad valorem tax dollars to this project, does the charter limit apply?
And the short answer is it does not, because of the language in the charter exempts natural catastrophes. COVID-19 has been considered a natural catastrophe. The American Rescue Plans and the Treasury regulations that implement it make it clear that these funds can be used for this type of a project, water and sewer project. So we're comfortable with finalizing this draft opinion that I've got here, that you can use ARPA dollars for this project.
Excellent. Okay, pretty clear. We need anything beyond that? Do you want a resolution? Do you want anything here?
No, as Mr. Torsivia had indicated, for your next meeting, I will have his written opinion from his office, so you can have that. And we will move forward with our project utilizing those dollars to complete the project. Like I said, Baxter Woodman, our engineer of record for that project, is actively designing the bid documents. They're the ones that oversaw the CCTV component. So now we're putting together the spec book, if you will, go out to bid, have bidders come in, and then hopefully after the end of season, we'll get started on it.
Okay, great. Okay, let's move on now to commission comments. John, you want to pick up where you left off?
Okay, so I want to thank Rich Pollock for the work he's done in reporting on Highland Beach. He's done a very good job, I think. Has a lot of interest in Highland Beach as kind of a benchmark for other towns. I also wanted to say about the election, I made it a point during the time I was on shift to thank voters as they were coming into the church to vote. And I would always say, thank you for coming, thank you for coming. What's interesting is that when they left, many of them, most of them, would come up and say, no, thank you for letting me vote on this. So I just saw that there was gratitude on the part of the town residents, also a sense of duty, and they were supporting us. And while, we have 3,800 that are registered, we still had a very good showing given the time of year. It was also kind of a lousy day. So I thought that went well. Now, the other thing too is that ex-mayor Featherman was there, and he was also very supportive. And I'd like to thank the ex-mayor years ago for being there, and he stuck around for a while, as well as John Ross and his committee, which I'm sure you all saw. Okay, I do have a question on the forensic audit, because of all of the news that we get about Del Rey, which just happens to be one crisis, one problem after another. Where do we stand on our forensic audit? And are we getting good information, data that we can sort out? Is it relevant? Is it, are we getting snowed or what?
We are getting information.
Yeah, that's
I
what
won't qualify it as the type of information or the type of data. They did fulfill our request with, like I told you before, about 9,000 pages of random information. Wasn't really queued up to be useful, so we're still going through that, and I have some questions, things of that nature. So again, with the forensic audit, because we didn't have clean records, they put in their own individual request as a third-party contractor to make their assessments, because they will be expert testimony in whatever we do one way or the other to make your decisions. So he wanted to get his request directly from Delray, independent of me. While I could answer some of his questions on his list, he wants to get it directly from Delray. So when he forms his opinion, he could say it's based on the records provided from the contractor. So he's going through that. I'm guessing he'll be in a little bit of a circling pattern. I've come to find out that a Delray resident has inquired about our inquiry. Maybe that'll speed it up or slow it down, you know, whatever it may be. But they are aware of our contractor. Bob Zucker has submitted a certified letter, which no one in Delray picked up. They resent it again last week. Not that it holds up his online request through the portal, but basically, he basically submitted a letter stating his position, what he's doing as a courtesy to administration at Delray and their commission, that, hey, I'm working on behalf. I'm looking for these records, hopefully to speed it up, but also to state what his purpose of his request was. So forensic audit, as I anticipated, is going to be a little bit longer than we thought. I'll say a little, but it could be a lot longer, because once he gets the records, then he has to analyze them. But his questions were very specific to the contract, to the questions that he needs answered. So if they can't supply information that he needs that right out of the contract, that'll be part and parcel to his opinion. So I'm kind of stepping back. They're keeping me posted of how long they're waiting, this and that. It took 3 months to get mine filled. So
then my last question is, 3 months, we seem to be in limbo. And if it goes, how many more months before we say enough?
well, I think we said enough, April of last year or earlier
Okay.
this year, we said enough. And the
And I kinda
voters
like-
said they agreed with you, enough is enough. I can't tell you that it's going to get better with their record keeping, their participation. I will give a little bit of update with some fire, kind of allude to some of the changes I'm looking at. So, you know, I can't tell you that it's going to get better with them or worse. It's just more of the same.
So
John, I'll try to answer that if I can a
Yeah.
little bit. You're looking for a date.
I'm looking
Yeah,
for,
I know what you're looking for.
when we drop the hammer.
Yeah. There is no date. It's going to take many more months. Hopefully that the information that they provide in the future will be better, because there's a new town manager there. That relationship is being established between he and Marshall. Seems to be a very knowledgeable and an individual that Marshall can work with. I haven't met him other than, hi, how are you? And shook his hand. Excuse me. But building a relationship takes time. And we have to have our patience with giving him time. But he's been far more responsive than others in the past. So you got to give them some time for that. Now, if we were to drop the hammer next Tuesday, as opposed to a few months from now, I think we're much better off a few months from now.
Yeah, and I don't question that. What I want them to know, if they listen to us, pay attention to us, or care about us, that at some point we have an option. You know, and we have a lawyer, we can take action. They need to know that at least I'm serious about taking legal action if we can't get a responsible reply to a reasonable request that I think everybody is supporting here. Now, the timing of that, I think you're our leader. I depend on you, and I respect that. I just want you to know You're armed. Okay?
Well, we
You
appreciate,
can fire, but you're armed.
we appreciate that. And then timing becomes really important in these kinds of things. And giving them more time is to our benefit, not to our detriment.
Okay.
Okay? So we're not in any rush to drop a hammer. It's one of those things where you give enough time, they sow their own web. Okay.
Okay, well, those are my
Unfortunately, it takes
comments.
patience,
I
which
appreciate it.
we don't have a lot of, but
Exactly, I don't.
okay.
Thank you.
Several things. Thank you to everyone who voted, whether in person or by mail. And thank you for paying attention to what's going on and for supporting us in our endeavors to have our own fire rescue department. It has been appreciated. Point of information, you cannot avoid responsibility for what's in a certified letter by not picking it up. You will be held responsible for it, whether you actually go and get it or not. As far as dropping the hammer, it could take you longer to get information through discovery than if we just sit and wait for it patiently. So I wouldn't be so fast because you need the same information anyway to go to a lawsuit. So yeah, we need to be a little bit patient here because you're not going to save any time by threatening them at this point. And that's all.
Okay. Peg?
Thanks, Mayor. I will follow up Evelyn's comment that 3 months does exceed the statutory levels that there is an acceptable time, but we will be patient. I've been in a number of meetings and I'll save, because of our long day today, I'll save a full report for next week if that's all right, but I'll just give you a brief outlook in a few sentences. First of all, I'd like to also thank Father Horgan and St. Lucy's for offering their site for voting as well as the voters. It's a great site. Okay. Actually spoke to a CCW meeting there in October and encouraged voting. About 75 ladies belong to that organization, and they were very, very seeking information about the fire vote. Interesting, I attended in Naples 2 weeks ago, a meeting of elected women officials. Senator Rick Scott spoke, and he spoke about the troubles with the ports and the supply chain. And he yesterday and today was at the Port of Palm Beach. They're actively trying to invigorate the Florida ports because apparently there's about 150 ships at any given day off the coast of California, specifically LA, not offloading the huge trailers which you would see on the road on the 18-wheeler, because the state apparently dropped the limit of heights that they could stack them to 2 instead of 4 or 6. And so they're not offloading these ships, these cargo ships. So they're looking at getting some of them sent through the canal over to Florida. Just thought it'd be interesting as to why you go to Target and you can't get your napkins. Then the Florida CFO, Jimmy Petronas, was there. He was interested in how our fire vote was going. And I texted him the outcome, and he had one answer, wow, with our response and our yes vote. And he said, keep him posted. Then a fellow United States Representative Michael Waltz spoke to us, and he is on several different national committees. He did inform us, which shocked me, that our own retirement, our FRS retirement, along with the retirements of 21 other states, is held in China, in bonds in China. Yeah, and yes, sir. And having
China bought the bonds.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And Governor Ron DeSantis, upon hearing that, is working with him to try to return Florida's FRS to the United States. I just thought that was an interesting note that our retirement is overseas. Then a couple other things. CFO Petronas did also point out, which hadn't occurred to me, that the collapse of Surfside was the third worst building collapse in the history of the United States, following the World Trade Center and the Oklahoma bombing, both of which were terrorist. When he was in Delray Beach this summer, 12 hours later, he was at Surfside at the collapse, and he stayed there 29 days. And he said the rigors that the firefighters went through, I know we're talking our own fire department, but he said the rigors, bless you, Chief, the rigors that the firefighters went through in terms of the people and the equipment was never challenged as it was there. And it will probably have the whole industry revisit the equipment and how it holds up under such extreme circumstances. Again, something that I hadn't thought of. And then lastly, at the League of Cities State Action Committee last weekend, and then at the Palm Beach County, when there's just a lengthy report, and I'll hold it, I'll type up notes and get it to you all next week, so as not to keep us here till we order dinner. So thank you.
Okay.
I also wanted to thank everyone for voting. It was really important, and I'm really excited about the result. And then to kind of follow Commissioner Shoemaker's line of questions. So my recollection is Delray Beach gave us what our bill is for the upcoming year, and it included additional people. We said, no, we'll pay basically last year's plus the typical increase. Where does that stand right now? Because doesn't Delray Beach's budget reflect what they sent us, but our budget reflects what we think we should be paying?
Did they revised it? Didn't I send it to you all?
Did you? Okay, I don't know. I
yeah.
couldn't remember.
I'll just resend it if you,
Okay.
but they revised it. I have a few questions on their revisions that are well above what they budgeted. So I need to figure out, why do we have to pay more than what they even budget for? Doesn't make any sense.
So we're
but I'll
not-
ask those questions.
We're not in an agreement.
They took as you recall, the email, basically, they took out the 4 personnel and the associated costs, but they also took out the revenue source of the SAFER grant. So when that rebalanced,
Oh, right.
it's about a 10% increase versus a 17%. I budgeted us for about a 5 to 7%. So there's a gap from what even their revision is over than we budgeted. And I'll have those questions with the city manager of Delray.
So what's in our budget? What you,
I estimated
lower-
because they didn't provide it to us. So we're going to be short towards the end of the year, but I'm hoping that I'll have some productive conversations on a few of the line items that why are they so far off?
Yeah.
So
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I noticed that I don't think they took out some of the add-on benefits along with those salaries.
not proportionally
Yeah.
went down, but they didn't go down as much as the other ones proportionally. So it's
Yeah,
again,
I mean, their
similar.
benefit costs are in excess of 80% now. And they didn't take that much out.
So here's a case in point, which I think kind of adds clarity, and it revolves around the one cost we know is out of control for them, which is their pension, right? So originally with the 4 extras, their pension contributions to the retirement plan was about 1.46 million just for pension. Nothing else, just pension.
Right.
Then they revised it and went down to 1.2 million or 1.2 million. They budgeted, our official budget that they adopt is basically $1 million. So they're still off a couple $100,000, yet we're still paying more than they even budgeted per their own projections. I just don't know. And they should have been able to catch that, because usually the estimate's 6 months before they adopt their budget that they have to give us. Well, since they didn't give us their estimate till after their budget, why are we still carrying the extras?
Exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm hoping to get that clarified. I don't know how they could justify it, but I'll be glad to read the email.
Plus, on top of that, smaller numbers, of course, all the administrative charges and the add-ons weren't taken out.
It doesn't appear proportionally, and then they kept the overtime the same with 4 less people, and they still have overtime that's 130,000 over what they budgeted. Why are we paying an extra 130 for
Yeah, so
budget?
you got a bunch of crap.
Yeah.
So
That's
like
why
this
we
whole,
need to give them more time, John.
so this whole talk about the forensic audit, like that's kind of tied together, right? Because you'll just keep paying based on what we budget, what we think we should be paying
Exactly.
until this all gets worked out. Is that?
Ish.
And then the
I mean,
other,
there'll be some good faith payments at the beginning part of this year as I work to see if the city manager will adjust it. If he doesn't, then we can make up the gap by holding the last payment until they can justify what the heck's going on. So.
and the other problem, this could be very interesting. With the 4 lieutenants and whatnot that they're keeping, and then they adjusted the budget. But did they adjust the Del Rey budget, the fire department's budget, to raise it, given that we're not absorbing it, right? And I don't think they have. And so I think this is going to be another
know.
problem for the town manager of Del Rey.
I know.
And at the same time, the reluctance to straighten it out with us, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's their problem, not our problem. And to answer your question, if we paid them monthly based on what we think it should be, not what they're billing us, then technically we're in arrears. That's why we want to do it at the end.
Okay.
Okay, we don't want to give them any ammunition.
Okay.
And, you know, it's going to cost us a little bit in carry, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it. Thanks.
Okay, I got a few things. First, on a sad note, I know most of us are aware of Father Horgan's loss of his partner when he was overseas. So Father Horgan, on behalf of all of Highland Beach, we send you our great sympathy for your loss. And many of us will be attending the service on the 11th, I guess it is, right?
8:30.
Pardon me?
8:30.
8:30, yeah, 8:30 a.m. Moving into the elections, I just want to thank everybody that put so much time and effort in on all of the different activities. Obviously, it paid off in dividends. Okay, but it was a lot of work, a lot of dedication on all of our parts. I specifically want to thank Marshall and T. They put a great deal of time and effort in, and their professionalism obviously paid off as well. But everybody that's watching that voted, I just want to thank you on behalf of the commission and Marshall for your trust and the confidence that you have displayed in the commission's ability to deliver. It's now up to us to deliver, and we will. But it's just reassuring that all of the time and effort we put in is noticed, and not just the fact that 39% of you came out to vote, but the 89% positive votes is very much appreciated. So thank you all. That's all I have. Let's go on now. Glenn, do you have anything you want to share with us? No more words of wisdom. You gave us enough today, huh? Okay. Chief, you have anything? Okay. Marshall.
Yeah, let's pick up on electric vehicles. No, just kidding. Just a few minutes, just to give a fire update, you know, where we're going, where we're headed. Been in some conversations, Chief Hartman and I, with the architect. We're working through a couple of new ideas that we're going to share with you very shortly. I'll share offline, but I don't want to share the public until we really get our arms around it. We have some different ideas that I think will make a lot of headaches go away as we move forward. Again, we're making progress with the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue on dispatch services. Mr. Joseph had a breakthrough, so it looks like we're going to start working on a contract for dispatch, which is key for our communications piece.
Breakthrough being COVID?
No, that they're, no. Just basically that they're going to do our, what's it, emergency calls. So the 911 component and district. Yeah, it's a behind the scenes inside baseball junkie. Just that our calls are handled, but there's certain types of agreements and contracts and yada, yada, yada that has to be put in. But we made some good progress on there. So that's going to be there. And again, showing that continued support from the county side of the equation, which is good. Medical director, a couple final tweaks. Then Mr. Joseph, our consultant, will be hand carrying those over and tracking down Mr. Cohen, make sure he signs. He just doesn't think about contracts and money. He just likes to help. So it's nice to have that, but we got to get him tied down. The internal consultant team have wrapped up probably what I would call a 75% medical protocols, all the medical protocols that we're going to follow in our EMS response. Boom, we've already got that done in place. We talked about last week, we talked about service and product procurement and certain contracts and vendors we need, from EMS billing to the type of protocols and vendors, all that stuff that you need to make this happen. All of the vendors that are used by most of our surrounding agencies are willing to do the cooperative purchasing, extending their prices and contract. We're working on those now. Those will all fall into place. So we're doing a really good job there. I will be bringing in December, we're going to talk a little bit about EMS types, type 1, type 3, type response vehicles, show you where our head's at, let you take a look at those. So you could help us select the appropriate vehicles for emergency response. So we're going to bring that in, show you the PowerPoint presentation slides, let you help us choose so we make the right selection moving forward, because we got to have that into the final topic, our COCPN license. So that's what Glenn was talking about earlier today, being very nervous about it. Commissioner Gossett-Simon was really nervous about it. I was nervous about it. She worked through Representative Caruso's office. They got really worried about it, which is good. And we've gotten some commitments from the county that they're going to be supportive of us getting this COCPN license via a pilot program. That's where the county's head's at the moment. But Caruso's office did find us some other last options if that doesn't work that we can follow. But it appears the county is willing to cooperate and play ball at this point. Again, until it's in hand, but we're getting those reassurances that the county's there and in play and willing to partner and make sure we get this. They've invited one of our consultants to work with them and helping them draft ordinance revisions. So our consultant team's not only going to be helping us, but they're experts in the county. So we have a really good team. So when we move forward, just rest assured, everybody in the public, where is everything? I'll get you the PERT charts and all this stuff, but we're making great strides. We are on point and ahead of schedule. And again, thanks to the residents for that full faith and confidence in us moving forward. We'll start working in January to twist our legislators, see if we can't get an appropriation to subsidize our fire station, which kind of works into some of the new ideas. And I think, everyone should feel comfortable that it's going to happen and it's going to be great. And we're on point and ahead of schedule. So thank you.
So where do they just, like you said, it's in the county. Do they discuss it at the public meetings? Like where,
So what for how the county is supporting?
yeah, like where is
So
that?
we asked the questions. Not only did we ask internally, but Peggy, I'll be more informal. Peggy worked with Caruso and his team to get them to recommit to the statement that they made us from two different angles. So our internal team, Tom McCarthy, reached out and was working with the EMS team at the county saying, how are you going to do this? And helping them make those determinations. And basically both parties pushed it to the legal team, which I know that Glenn had talked in the background too with the county legal. What is your interpretation? We're doing this. We're out the door. And they said, we're going to work through the pilot and rest assured we're here to support and help and make that happen. So we're getting that traction of the seriousness of our determination is there. So the county has given us an opinion that they're willing to do it through the pilot program, and they're going to be very supportive, and spoke to the local delegation, which is our local legislators. They made that commitment to the local delegation because they were working on rules to help us change their ordinance for them, which we found we can't technically do, but that put on us pressure for them to be Highland Beach is serious. We're working through our legislators too. So I think everyone knows that we're serious, our intent. So, but it was good for the county to make its statement. So again, until it's in hand, but we're working in the right directions, getting the right confirmations from the right parties.
So there's some committee or something at the county level that's looking, or it's the.
There's an EMS council, and then there's also the local delegation group. But the one that we work through is through the EMS council, and we are COCPN 6-year license thing we have to apply by September. And again, as we have understood, we're not going to hire everybody, buy all this equipment, have the fire station complete. It's not all going to be done, but they can give us a conditional approval via the pilot program, which currently exists in the ordinance. So basically you're taking a process that may not be perfect. They're going to squeeze us into that ability to do it so they don't have to do some wholesale changes and we can meet their deadlines. And The commitment from our implementation team is we're going to put together a complete, thorough, professional application that we're not leaving anything to chance. It's going to be good. So if they do, my commitment to you is if the county says no, it's purely political. It will not be staff or professionalism or expertise in the field. So
But
So does it go
eventually-
before the commissioners or does it go before just
Yeah,
this EMS?
Eventually it goes to the county
Eventually it will go
commission.
to the
Yep.
county commissioners.
to approve it. Yep.
It, and like, what's the timeline of that? Like, what, is that in that 6 month?
We apply in September, they make their decisions by January. So it'll be fall next year where they'll be going through this process. And basically they will say, okay, ideally they'll say, you get it. And then here are your 6 conditions that have to be met before, I'm going to use Tom's words, before wheels are hot, meaning we're actually out there working. They'll, show us the vehicles, let us inspect the vehicles, the fire station's in, let us inspect the fire stations, let us see who you're hiring. All of those things will have to drop into place before we go wheels hot or live on that May 1st of 24.
So is that September 2023 that?
No, it's coming up.
22.
22.
So 22
Yeah,
is where
we're
it goes
working.
before the county commissioners. It gets on
Sometime
an
in the
agenda.
fall there, October, November timeline. Yep.
I can jump in here, Marshall,
Yeah.
if you just
See,
like me to give another sentence.
We need that approval because that's when we start laying the big money down.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we don't get that approval, do you want to commit the millions of dollars that we have to commit?
Right.
No.
There's a legislative delegation, which consists of appointed representatives, state senators who meet every year in advance of session. And I've been going for 3 years out of interest. And this year, Senator Polsky hours and Representative Caruso hours are the heads of this. And so I attended on October 28th, and I've got this to copy to you all. And we presented, which we drafted up, the staff helped me the night before, language that the county legislative delegation could push through to the county commissioners on behalf of us. And it's 15 representatives and senators in addition to Caruso and Polsky. And they are willing to go to bat for us if necessary. So I'll get that copy. It's too much to go into it, a lengthy meeting, but you'll have copy through Marshall and then we'll have it on the agenda for next week. So in other words, we're keeping the pressure and the commitment and the showing everyone who's listening and watching that we're serious and we're doing everything the right way as a backup to Marshall and our Glenn Joseph's efforts.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to follow up. I know that Vice Mayor Moore has this interest. Now that we've gotten the go-ahead on the 10 million, I know residents are now saying, okay, now what's going to happen? So, and yet we need a detailed plan to implement going forward over the next year or more. But maybe we can get a summary of the key highlights of the plan of action and key tasks.
Glad you brought that up.
Okay.
I think that in Marshall's, what do you call it? Marshall's minutes? What do we call them? Managers.
Marshall's law.
I think we should put out a quarterly statement instead of one of Marshall's that updates the community on where we stand.
That's not a bad idea.
Separate from.
Yes.
Separate from,
Yeah, absolutely.
instead of. we
Well, I
should
don't even
skip
know
it.
if instead of, but in addition to,
Well,
because there's a lot of other
the
stuff
reason
going
I'm
on.
saying instead of is you just don't want to bombard them with all these mailings all the time, but maybe it's in addition to whatever. Or maybe I should do it, but somehow
It needs to be done.
it needs to be done. I think on a quarterly basis, we update them
Good. That's,
on status of, progress of, et cetera.
yeah. And here's what we're looking at
So
doing.
that way, the entire
think that's
community knows the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Right.
What obstacles we're having, how we're doing, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. They deserve to know.
With a schedule. Yep.
Okay. Okay, we all agree. You want to do it, John? No, I'll do it.
Let's see, paragraph 8.6C.
Yeah, I think between Marshall and I, we can take care of it.
Mayor, maybe we can get an electric fire truck.
You know, so funny though. I was actually thinking that. when we were-
Actually, when we build
Ambulance
out this,
anyway.
when we build out the station, can we involve somehow recharges
Put a
there?
charger in there. It's coming. It's definitely coming. Okay, anything else? Marshall? Okay, last chance. Anybody have anything else? Okay, at 3:18, we will adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Bet on this next